I'm Doug Kahn. I'm a managing director and a co-founder at Newport Partners. And the topic for today is the right way to right size. Now, right sizing a company is by its very nature a very difficult exercise. But on occasion, some companies are left with no option other than to right size the company. And so what I'm going to talk about today are 3 common mistakes that companies make when they undergo the exercise of right sizing. So mistake number 1, not taking out the right amount of cost. Typically what we see is companies don't cut deep enough. The way we normally see companies approach right sizing is they'll typically turn to their finance function. Finance will do some analysis. They'll come back with a number that the company needs to remove in terms of cost. And then, the management team will go off and go through the exercise. And what tends to happen, unfortunately, more often than not, is 1 quarter, 2 quarters, maybe 3 quarters down the road, the company finds itself in exactly the same situation again and has to go through a very similar downsizing or right sizing exercise. When you work with Newport Partners, we will provide you with a very realistic assessment of your business, of your industry, and a recommendation for how much cost you should take out, and enable you to go through that exercise once. Mistake number 2, taking out the wrong mix of employees. What generally tends to happen, once finance comes back with a number, typically that number is allocated to the various different departments. Marketing needs to reduce by X amount, engineering needs to reduce by Y amount, operations by Z amount, for example. And the company and the leadership go off and make those changes. And once the dust kind of settles, the employees remaining kind of look around, they scratch their head, and they ask questions like, well, why is it that my group had to reduce by this amount, yet that other group only had to reduce by that amount? When you work with Newport Partners, we will provide you with industry benchmarks based on the size of your company, based on the sector that you're in, with typical benchmarks for the spend and the number of employees function by function. So you'll be able to establish a baseline. And now you can always index up or index down based on your business requirements, but you'll be able to explain very, very clearly to your employees and to your shareholders why you made the decisions you made. Mistake number 3, not considering the perception that employees, shareholders, and others have of the company as you go through and once you've finished right sizing. So for example, the way employees are going to think about the company after going through this exercise depends on several factors. First of all, employees who remain need a level of confidence that those who were let go were treated fairly. And for those who remain, it's really important that you identify the most critical resource for the team and provide them with some incentive, some reason to stay with the company. They need that level of confidence. Another factor to consider in terms of the perception is the timing. It's really important to think about the timing in terms of your business cycle and in terms of the calendar in general. There's never a great time to do this, but there are certainly better times than others to do this, and you should consider this. So these are 3 very common mistakes that companies encounter when they go through right sizing. There are, many others. When you work with Newport Partners, we'll help you navigate to avoid these common mistakes so that the outcome is most optimal for your company, for your employees, and for your shareholders.